Feels like I'm caught up in a trance. Can come down all night.
What is good, Nymph fam? Welcome back to the Team Help Ultimate Champion stream. I'm joined by the lovely SpeedyQ, and we teased a little last week about the new club joining. Do you guys think you have guessed it yet? Let me know in the chat. But Speedy, it's been an exciting build-up, hasn't it?
It has indeed, and I know our lovely community has seen all the cryptic clues that have been released from a dragon to the Eiffel Tower and to a phoenix. Some interesting names thrown about, from your Inters to your AC Milans, and even Liverpool making an appearance on Discord. So quite exciting, and it's keeping the community second guessing. And I'm sure as we move along, we'll hopefully get some easier clues pointing in the direction of who this might be.
Yeah, I know. I'm so excited. So everyone who thought that we'd given it away in last week's stream, we actually haven't. We're still keeping you guessing. And with that, last week was to try and guess what the new team might be for the silver pack. But Speedy, what are the guys got to do this week to be in with a chance to win the silver pack?
Great stuff. So this week, what they need to share in the comment section is who is their goalkeeper of choice for game week 128. As we mentioned last week, we're going to do it a little bit differently. We will not announce the winner during this live stream, but we'll actually compile and collate, as we always do, those names, and we'll actually do a random spin within Discord. So if you're not on Discord yet and you are listening or viewing, make sure you join. I will send a little announcement out when it's going to occur and in what channel it will occur, and we can do a live spin and see who that lucky winner is of the silver pack. Don't forget to like and subscribe, or if we spin your name, you may not win.
Yes, so make sure you are meeting those terms and conditions. But spinning the wheel is always lots of fun, so that's going to be good to make sure you're tuned into the Discord channel for that. Well, okay, let's recap a little bit on last week. Not that I really want to go there because I did awfully in Game Week 127. So I thought I'd give Speedy a chance this week to tell me all about how you did, Speedy.
Thanks very much, Nim, and commiserations on your lineups performances for game week 127. It was a mad one, actually. If you look across all the divisions and all the tournaments, there were some massive scores. I think all the players putting in hard yards just before the international break, which we have basically moved into now. And even in the global league, which remember is just common cards, so there's no rarity and condition bonus. I think the winner was over 2,700 points, which is massive. I was fortunate to not get a podium, but to get a 5th place, as you can see in the Ultimate Champions Star Division. Really had a great, strong defense. Just a pity Cardiff with Mr. McGuinness conceded a couple near the end. I went for a little flyer for my goalkeeper just because of who Tranmere were playing against, Luke McGee. And as you can see, he got a clean sheet, a couple of saves, and scored a massive score. Very happy with the 1,000 champ and 2,250 MGC. If my strikers, as you can see, if they came to the party last week, it potentially could have been a first or a podium. I think this score of 2,900 odd was about 150 points off first position in this specific tournament division. But still, very, very happy to earn some champ and earn some MGC. And we move on, to the next game week, which may be quite tricky for some.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we do that, we should recap on how the players we discussed did for 1 to 7, because I hear on the grapevine they did pretty good.
Yes, very, very decent selections, I think, all round by ourselves. Even our thumb, which I'll start off with, our thumb that we had for the podcast last week, Mr. Kwame Poku, as you can see, played 84 minutes, 2 goals and an assist, 313 base score in Ultimate Champions. He obviously was involved in Peterborough's 5-0 demolition of Cambridge. And yeah, they dismantled Cambridge, and Kwame's performance was sensational. Great selection by us, and I really hope our listeners, viewers, put him in their lineup. I think only Efron Mason Clark outscored him in this match with 325 points, scoring 2 goals as well. So any of those Peterborough players that you potentially put in from defence to the strikers, you would have scored well in game week 1 to 7.
Insane scores, insane scores.
Then we'll move on to our goalkeeper selection, which was Anthony Patterson. As you can see, played 90 minutes, 5 saves, 186 base points. Remember, he did not get the clean sheet. Sunderland conceded. The final score was 3-1. I was actually watching the game because in South Africa on our service provider, we actually get a couple of EFL games, which is fantastic, as well as the whole of the Premier League. And I was watching this game on television. I was disappointed, obviously, after he conceded in the 30th minute. However, even though Sunderland won 3-1, they were under a lot of pressure during this match. Patterson kept their scoreline looking quite convincing with some amazing saves. And as I mentioned, there was no clean sheet, but he still scored a great score of 186 points in Ultimate Champions.
Yeah, I looked at him a couple of times to bring him in, bit gutted that I haven't yet.
one to look forward to.
Yeah.
Obviously, still a lot of the season ahead, and he always seems to do well. And Sunderland are playing decent football. They had a little dip, but seems like they are moving in the right direction once again.
Yeah.
Then our final selection, we obviously looked at the striker department. We selected Danilo El Said, 89 minutes, 140 points base score in the 3-2 victory over Rosenborg. I would have loved him to be involved in one of the goals, or at least got an assist for us. But even with the club actions, 3 goals scored by other players, so you get 20 points per club action, which was added. So as a striker, even though he was not involved and had no highlights, he still had a decent productive score of 140 points. So I think overall, those 3 were great selections for Game Week 127, and they would have benefited anyone that potentially put them in their lineups.
I agree. And so with that, should we touch upon the teams as well that we mentioned for Game Week 1 to 7?
Yes, we can do that. I'll start off with Peterborough. As I mentioned earlier, when chatting about Kwame Poku, they gave Cambridge a little hiding, 5-0. And yeah, all round great performances from any position within their team. But what I really want to focus on is, and we touched about it last week, was the culmination of the Versaliga league season. And obviously RFS and Riga were battling it out, as you can see on our image, as predicted by yours truly, if I may remind our viewers and listeners. RFS managed to sneak past Meta 1-0. And once again, Valmera caused a stumbling block for Riga, and they drew 1-1. So RFS are the Versaliga champions, and they've actually also resigned Meta to being second last in the league, and they will therefore have a promotion relegation playoff to see if they remain in the league. Just a reminder to all viewers and listeners, if you don't remember, the Versaliga is now done.
Okay, that's it. Those cards cannot be used anymore. half of Nim's collection is gone, just like that. Now
I
she's
wouldn't
gonna
say
start
anymore.
pulling.
Yes, yes, they will be usable again once their season starts up
Of
again in
course.
about 2 or 3 months' time.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's cards that you potentially need to sit on for a bit, or otherwise, as it leads up to those seasons, potentially put them on the marketplace and see what you could get if you are wanting to sell them.
Yes. That's some good advice there. All right then. So that's all done and dusted and wrapped up in a nice little neat bow. Shall we look ahead to game week 1 to 8 and the teams to target? And Speedy, with the international break, there's so little teams to choose from here, isn't there?
That is correct. It's really going to be difficult for a lot of managers. I know myself included, even with I don't have a massive collection like some of our managers, but I have a decent collection. I even struggle to put a couple of 11-a-side teams, or at least one 11-a-side team in. So as Nim mentioned, with it being the international break, we only have 11 matches currently available for Game Week 128. They will cover the English League One and the English League Two fixtures, and then we have one Serbia Superliga match as well. So your League One, League Two will be over the weekend, and I think that Serbia Superliga will culminate on Wednesday next week, which will still be part of Game Week 128. Take note, if you haven't checked the fixtures, Barnsley and Carlisle, Port Vale and Leyton Orient match has already been postponed, and keep an eye out if there's any other late postponements. As I mentioned earlier, many of our new managers, or even managers that potentially, like yourself, Nim, started when the summer leagues began and invested a lot in the summer leagues, may have issues in putting full lineups in for this game week. With what Ultimate Champions is running this week is we have the Ultimate Champions tournament, which will be the only 11-a-side with a couple of divisions. And then we're also catering a bit for the people that can. We have the UC International Tier 2 five-a-side, and then we have the Superliga Serbia tournament to cover that one match that we have, and that will also be five-a-side. So what I would suggest, and as we'll potentially discuss a little later, if you can't create a full team, put a couple of players in and use some DNPs. Maybe you can earn some MGC going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So we're kicking off here with Blackpool.
That's it. So not many teams to select from, but remember there are random athletes that are playing for other clubs that have been with a licensed team. So look around and see what you have in your collection. So with Blackpool, that's English League One, obviously. They are fourth currently. They've played 17, won 6, drawn 6, lost 5, goals for 24, goals against 23. They have a home game against Shrewsbury in Game Week 128, and will look to get back to winning ways after their narrow loss to Bolton. It was a tough game for them in Game Week 127, which they lost narrowly 1-0. My apologies, they are not fourth on the table. They are eighth on the table currently and just outside of those promotion playoff spots. So I expect a good performance from them pushing for those spots, and the likes of Rhodes, Norburn and Husband should score well. For those struggling for athletes to select, I saw a little interesting fact. They had I think it was a FA Cup game against Morecambe. Jake Beasley, who hasn't featured for the main team, scored 2 goals. So potentially, but this is just a punt, potentially maybe he gets into the squad and gets a couple of minutes on the game week 128.
Ooh, I like that. I like a punt around here, as you know.
Don't take me to the bank on that one. I just think maybe he might be in there because of his goal threat. Then we'll move on to Tranmere. As you can see, their stats here: played 17, won 4, drawn 1, lost 12. Not the greatest of stats. However, after game week 127, they had a great 3-0 victory against Forest Green. They are currently just above the relegation zone, and Forest Green, who they played last week, is in that relegation zone. And the team they're playing this week, Sutton, is also in the
Ooh,
relegation zone. So I think they will be looking
relegation
for
battle.
yes, basically. So I think they'll be looking for victory to move them more points away from that infamous spot. And athletes who should score well are your central defenders in Tom Davies and Jordan Turnbull, and then Regan Henry in the midfielders. In the midfield is doing quite decently lately for Tranmere as well.
Yeah. Well, as you'll see in just a moment when we bring up my team, that's kind of the only options I have.
That's correct, but decent. They've got a decent fixture. Anything can happen, obviously, but I'm sure potentially they could get a result there, and a couple of their players can perform well.
Fingers crossed on that
Then
one.
we have to cover our Serbian league, because we obviously have one match in game week 128, and that's Napredek. They played 13, won 4, drawn 2, lost 7. In their last 4 outings, including a Serbian Cup match, they have won 3 and lost 1. So even though, once again, terrible looking stats for the table, and they are on the bottom half of the table, they have had a decent run of form. And they are playing Kukariki at home, which is our only Serbian match, as I mentioned. So Kukariki are above them on the table. However, because of home ground advantage, I think Napredek may sneak this. And athletes to look out for are their keeper, Vladimir Savic, and defenders Nemanja Dekovic. I think those are 2 players to potentially have a look out for. And if you have them in your collection, put them in your lineups.
I like that. I like that. And just to help you guys out even further, we have handpicked another 3 players to look at getting in, all starting for game week 128. Haven't we, Speedy?
That's it. That's it. We will cover Bolton. Listen to me. Blackpool, which we just discussed. Marvin Ekpatera. They're playing home to Shrewsbury. He's only played 9 games. He hasn't scored a goal. Clean sheets 4, and his last 5 is only 101 points. The defender has recently returned, though, from a long injury layoff. He has started and played the full 90 minutes in their last 2 games. His last 2 UC scores were 117 and 101 points. There's nothing spectacular there, but what we must remember is that Blackpool did concede in both of those games, and one of them they conceded 3 goals. When they started the season and Marvin was fit in the first 4 games, his scores in those matches were 204, 181, 182, and 202 points. So with a home match against 16th place Shrewsbury coming up, and with him gaining more and more confidence within the defensive system, and as he gets more minutes, I think potentially there's a clean sheet on, and potentially a big score for him for this game week.
I agree. Looking forward to this one.
Then we move on to my goalkeeper hero from my star division last week, Luke McGee. As I mentioned about Tranmere, they are away to Sutton in the relegation zone. Look at his stats. He's played 16. He's got 60 saves, only 3 clean sheets, but in the league in the League Two, he is averaging the best saves per game. So the Tranmere showstopper would not normally be a regular selection by many managers in their lineups. But due to, as I mentioned, due to Tranmere hovering just above the relegation zone, I think potentially it would be a great bet. Lovely fixture. He's just come off, as I mentioned, a clean sheet, quite a number of saves, great UC score. So I think potentially someone to put in your lineup, especially over the small game week due to the international break.
Yeah, his name has appeared a few times in the chat as the guest option, so he's definitely popular this week.
Fantastic. They've been watching and checking the stats out, which is great. It's always good to have a look at the history, and especially with a small game week like this, to see where you can enter someone that will potentially benefit that lineup and maybe even push you into the podium spots.
Agreed.
Last but not least, Mr. Kane Hemmings, funnily enough, played for Tranmere last season. He has obviously moved to Stevenage this season. He hasn't played a lot of football, obviously migrating into a new team and getting used to the system and things like that. However, um, in League One this football season, he has an assist and a goal in his last two League One outings, and also a FA Cup goal in between these, which, funnily enough, he scored against Tranmere as well. So I think potentially a start on the weekend against at home to Lincoln and continue his recent scoring form. I would, though, suggest that if you take a chance on him, have sufficient cover on the bench just in case.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. Just make sure you've got that coverage on the bench. Cool.
A good thing, sorry, Nim, a good thing to potentially do is if you're going to use your do not play trick, you could put a do not play as one of your strikers and two or three strikers on the bench, including him. And then whoever your best striker is on your bench will technically come on.
A little sub trick. I like it. I like it. Cool. Okay, so with all of that in discussion, I'm definitely a newbie to the game, as you guys know. You've been following my journey. So for this week in particular, I am struggling. I usually struggle, to be honest, in any of the international breaks to get any full teams out. So in this particular instance, I have stuck with a team of the five-a-side UC Tier 2 in the hope of getting a bit of MGC, right, Speedy?
It's 100% correct. As you can see how we've set up, we've got a couple of players that are playing. We've got a couple that aren't playing, but we haven't used any of Nim's epics or mythics as do not plays because we don't want to lose that one game condition bonus that they currently have. We did have the discussion regarding potentially ripping some packs because obviously Nim has built up some nice MGC and champ. But I think on a small game week like this, you could go and rip a UC international pack and potentially not get a player that's going to be playing in the games that are scheduled for game week 128. So I think in the back of your mind, just take this as a knock. Put what you can in if you're lucky enough, because I can guarantee you a lot of managers will struggle to full teams. You can maybe position yourself that you earn a little bit MGC, add it to your total, and potentially look to invest after the international break when the full game weeks return and the December mad rush.
And the new team being added as well.
Aha! Don't forget the new team, guys.
So that's kind of
Very
what
good
I'm
point.
holding mine for at the moment. Waiting on that
Fantastic idea.
to see what it is. But
Fantastic idea.
you guys will see here that I am going to get a small penalty for playing my Tranmere players, but that's just unfortunate with the fact that I literally don't have many other options. It's a case of just playing whoever I have that will actually get some game time this week. It's not ideal. I don't have a midfielder, so we've just stuck a general common card in that isn't playing this week. As Speedy said, I'm literally doing this, and you guys should be doing this with any of the tournaments that you can enter with, as many do not plays as you possibly can. Although Speedy did remind me earlier, obviously try not to play your epics and your mythics that aren't playing because they will decrease still as being played in those teams. So don't use them if you can possibly help it. And so this is the only tournament I'll be entering this week, and I'm fine with that. It's been the case with some midweeks as well, and I'm just hoping to come away with some MCG basically. And so so do try and make sure that you do the same and try and give yourselves the best chance because it all helps towards packs and things like that at the end of the day. Cool.
That's correct, and I think just to add on to that, Nam, I think very important if you are doing decently, or anyone that's listing decently in the global league, obviously at the end of the season, I think it's a top 500, if I'm not mistaken, obtain rewards. So even if you don't have a full lineup, make sure you use some of those DNPs, even if it's epic or mythic DNPs in the global league. Remember that will not detract from your condition bonus, but make sure you can achieve as many points as possible to keep your ranking in that global league going strong.
Yeah, and I should mention that I did buy this UC Tier 1 pack a couple of weeks ago, I believe, didn't I, Speedy? With the MGC that I had to try and fill in being able to enter some of these midweek fixtures and these one-off fixtures with these players, which, I think I got quite lucky with packing both McGee and Jennings in that pack. So, yeah, feeling happy that there is a chance that I could get a bit of MGC there. Cool. All right then. So I'm hoping we're grabbing the names down. Pushkar's hopefully doing that for us so that we can get going with going over to Discord, and I know that Speedy will pull the names for you guys there. So it's a bit fairer and you get to see it's all above board and things like that, like it has been the last few weeks. But you know what? I hope you guys have thoroughly enjoyed the stream today. I know it's not a big game week, but hopefully it's these smaller ones as well where you can make some gains. So hopefully you have found this useful and helpful, and do make sure you go check out Discord. And if you want to play Ultimate Champions, then do so, but please only invest what you can afford to, because it's not big and not clever to do so otherwise. And thank you, Speedy, for giving us all of your hot tips this week. I wish you the best of luck with your game week. I hope it goes well, buddy.
I really appreciate it, Nim. Thank you very much. And to everyone listening, don't forget the game week doesn't start tomorrow. It starts on Saturday. So you've got an extra day to make sure that your teams or team, like mine, is set up correctly. And good luck for that. Keep on checking out the cryptic clues, and let's see who's the first person that can predict who that team is.
Yeah, absolutely. And Crypto says he's about to drive, so he won't be in Discord, but that's okay. You'll be able to catch up, buddy. You'll be able to scroll up and see what's gone on, so don't worry about that. That's the whole point of doing it there, for definite. So thank you all so much for joining us. Until next time, next week, same time, Nymphria and Speedy out. Bye, guys.
I will.
Feels like I'm caught up in a trance. Can't come down all night. The city never stood a chance. With you by my side, it's all ours. So don't second guess. Let down your guard. Just take a chance. I feel the hours ticking down. Wish I could turn it all around, but in my mind we're frozen perfectly in time. Can we turn back the night and stay in this dream for repeat? Can we turn back the night and stay in this dream for repeat? Can we turn back the night? Same old places come alive. Wherever we are, feels like I'm seeing with new eyes. Even in the dark, let's go get lost. Just take my hand, ignore the cost. Forget the plan, I feel the hours ticking down. Wish I could turn it all around, but in my mind we're frozen perfectly in time. Can we turn back the night and stay in this dream for repeat? Can we turn back the night and stay in this dream for repeat? Can we turn back the night? Feels like I'm caught up in a trance. Can't come down all night. The city don't second guess. Let down your guard. Just take a chance. I feel the hours ticking down. Wish I could turn it